President, typically when we talk about federal employees or federal agency, the story starts something like this. There was a mix-up in paperwork for a constituent who had a Social Security Administration retirement benefits. She ended up not having Part B Medicare coverage until later, and there was a lapse in coverage. And everyone gets frustrated over the mix-up, the drop paperwork, the problem. And they never hear the story of Amber Kraft, who works in the Tulsa Social Security office. She chased the whole issue down. She did everything possible with the payment center to get input switched on the Medicare application, ended up getting the constituents coverage to begin with in the desired month to be able to get them taken care of. They were taken care of on their medical bills because a federal employee saw the gap, ran to the need, and helped somebody in our state. This is Public Service Recognition Week. And I want to take a little bit of time because this body, like many people in the nation, we catch ourselves at times complaining more than we praise. And there are a lot of people that are scattered around the nation right now serving their neighbors as federal employees. We have a lot of those in Oklahoma, and there's some pretty remarkable folks that are my neighbors that I get the opportunity to be able to meet with. Over 93,000 federal employees, both active and retired, both federal and on the postal side. 93,000 just in my state in Oklahoma. And that doesn't include the many teachers and firefighters, first responders, other folks that work with public agencies on the city, state, county level as well. We're grateful to those folks because they make an incredible difference. There are folks like Martha Gibson, who works in the VA Center in Muskogee. She works in that benefits office, taking care of trying to be able to get benefits towards our veterans when there are problems, and there have been problems at times. But Martha works incredibly well with our team. As we get a call from a constituent and try to chase down the issue to be able to help figure out how we can resolve it, Martha's typically the one that we call in the Muskogee office. And Martha, quite frankly, pretty often gets it solved. Not just helping us, but helping other Oklahomans. Alexandria Hyatt, she's another good one to be able to talk about. She works in the Enterprise Services Center at the Mike Maroney Aeronautical Center with the FAA in Oklahoma City. She's an exceptional example of a federal employee that not only works incredibly hard, not just for FAA, but for other agencies as well that FAA serves through the Enterprise Services Center. But she's one of those folks that we're glad is our neighbor. You see, she's a federal employee, but she also, in just last year, in 2018, gave 850 hours away of her volunteer time to serving with welfare agencies, working on weekends, using her own leave. She's a licensed journeyman with HVAC. And so she finds places that she can use that skill to be able to serve other people, including putting in ductwork and insulation, working on mold remediation, first aid, and teaching. After Hurricane Katrina, she spent 3 weeks roofing and providing mold remediation in Hurricane Katrina. In 2015, she spent 6 weeks in New York City insulating and inspecting HVAC supply vents on residency floors. After Hurricane Irma, she spent 2 weeks repairing and installing roofs. She's a federal employee, and she gives away her time, not just in her day job, but in serving people on nights and weekends and taking her own vacation on this. Got Don O'Connor. He's had 50 years as a civil servant. He also served active duty in the Air Force and in the Air National Guard for 30 years. It's a pretty remarkable servant with a pretty long legacy. Brian Whittle is another FAA employee and an Oklahoma National Guardsman. He served very faithfully both for the Oklahoma National Guard and the FAA. But it was last year as he walked into a restaurant in Oklahoma City and heard and saw a gunman that was opening fire in a restaurant. Brian was one of them that actually ran towards the shots. And in a historic work and in a heroic act, stopped a shooting at a restaurant in Oklahoma City because this federal employee and guardsman actually engaged to be able to serve. We got Lieutenant Waylon Cubitt. He's from the Oklahoma City Police Department. He has a program that he actually works very actively with called Family Awareness and Community Teamwork Program, FACT. He spends a lot of time working with students trying to help engage people with police officers. Because a lot of times kids grow up in neighborhoods and communities or maybe in families where they don't hear positive things about the police department, so he's constantly reaching out to help people. He's active in mentoring programs. This statement was written about him. On any given week, Cubitt and fellow officers will work with up to 100 children. Once a week, they hold a character building night in Northeast Oklahoma City. Another night, they host the same program in South Oklahoma City. First-time offenders come for juvenile intervention program one night a week. FACT also hosts a youth leadership academy once a month. He's a police officer, but he's also a mentor and an activist to be able to help the next generation of people. We've got folks like Casey Farrar. He's the lead engineer on the B2. Now, we don't think about the B2 other than we're very grateful that we have the B2. But here's what's interesting. Mr. Farrar was directly responsible for saving the United States Air Force, therefore the United States taxpayer, $63 million in 2018. His work on several projects, including replacement of electrical cables on the rotary launcher system, as well as upgrades to those rotary launchers, improves the B-2 capabilities way into the future and will make an incredible difference and save the taxpayer a lot of money. At times we hear about things that actually waste dollars, and we lose track of folks like this, an engineer that just saved the taxpayer $63 million. Matt Lindenbauer works in the emergency management director for the city of Woodward in Woodward County. Been very influential working through the fire seasons that we've had in Northwest Oklahoma. He is one of those folks that's actually helping protect his neighbors by working with emergency management. He's got folks working alongside of him that are traveling down the roads like Trooper Austin Ellis from the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. He was on a routine patrol, but was shot last August. It was just another day for him. He was able to withstand the bullets and recover despite a fractured rib. And by the way, as he would want me to say to you, they got the guy. Tommy Nicholas works for the United States, or the USCIS, Customs Immigration Service. Ms. Nicholas reviews and makes case determinations, provides technical and administrative advice, assigns work based on priorities. She's worked for USCIS for 2 decades and is one of those folks that's always ready to assist. She's helped in situations where an individual with a pending immigration case also needs travel or needs to be with an ailing relative overseas. When someone who needs urgent proof of status to work for their family, she's the one that steps up and goes above and beyond to help take care of folks in immigration issues and needs. You see, again, folks at times will be able to push back on people dealing with immigration issues, and they forget there are great folks that are out there serving their neighbors all the time. Jim Lau began his tenure with the Community Service Council in 1980 as a helpline program director and became associate director in 1991. He created Oklahoma's first 211 call center, which became the first in Oklahoma, which allowed Oklahoma, I should say, to be the first to achieve national accreditation, helping 211 to become the statewide service. At the Community Service Council, his leadership in the creation of Tulsa's Heat Emergency Action Plan and Tulsa Weather Coalition Air Conditioner Loan Program has contributed significantly to the health and well-being of many Tulsans. He's another one of those folks serving every single day. And we can't forget our teachers that are out there constantly helping the kids in the next generation. Miss Annette Kane, she teaches 2nd grade at Spring Creek Elementary. On the 2nd day of school this past school year, on the 2nd day of school, she saw one of her students struggling to read. She quickly connected with the reading specialist, principal, and the parents to discuss how to help this new 2nd grader. Her concern was he might need to go back to 1st grade, or he might be behind in 2nd grade and was going to just need some additional help in reading. But that little 2nd grader is now caught up, has the Most Improved Reading Award. Good for them, but good for Annette Kane, who saw the problem, who responded to the needs of that child. Reminds me of the stories that's day after day after day of folks like that are in Elgin, Oklahoma, like Don Myers, and all the crew that's there doing special education and so much work to be able to help kids with the greatest amount of need in Elgin. Just like in other programs around the state, where those teachers Work with the parents, work with other educators, work with that child to help a child way behind get caught up or to be able to help them in their own development. I am grateful that this week we get to honor public service because there are millions of public servants doing amazing work to help their neighbors all around the country. And of all states and of all places, I remind this body often that Oklahomans pause every April 19th and remember a domestic terrorist that parked a truck bomb next to the federal building and killed 168 people out of his hatred for public servants in the federal government. We in Oklahoma remember that public servants get up and go to work every day to be able to serve their neighbors. And we as individuals still push back against those that just blindly hate government and blindly hate people that serve in government and serve each other. We don't blindly hate, we deeply appreciate, and we're grateful to what they do. And we as a state will never forget the 168 lives that were lost 24 years ago of public servants taking care of their neighbors. We're grateful. And if you are a public servant and you hear this, please accept my thank you. Well done. I'm proud to be your neighbor.